Hi there, this is David and welcome to the Top 10 PlayStation 1 JRPGs Part 2. If you missed the first Top 10 list, a link to it can be found in the video description covering my numbers 10 through 1. That list was one of the first Top 10 lists that I ever made, and while I still do stand behind it, there are just so many great RPGs on the original PlayStation that I did feel like a Part 2 was in order. So, come with me and let's relive some of the golden age years of RPGs on Sony's debut outing. Number 20, Legend of Dragoon. Starting off the list, we have the one game that people wanted to crucify me for not including the first time around. While I do think that it is a solid RPG, I'm not going to lie and say that it's the best thing since sliced bread. Back when it first came out, I just kinda had to power through it to get to the end, and to say that it hasn't aged well is an understatement. First touted as a Final Fantasy killer, to me it was nothing of the sort. The 32 item limit was atrocious, the Dragoon transformations are pretty much useless, and even random trash mob battles take forever because of the addition system. Even back when I first played it, I was terrible at timing, so I might as well just forget about it nowadays. Besides, who wants every single attack to turn into a quick time event? Add to the fact that you're constantly defending to restore HP, which ends up dragging out battles even longer, and yeah, I just don't think that it's top 10 material. Now, if the game was remastered and re-released rectifying those problems, then it could easily deserve a top spot. But as it stands now, number 20 is right where it belongs. Number 19, Beyond the Beyond. It seems to be the popular thing nowadays just to shit all over any sort of experimental RPG that doesn't have a AAA budget. But sometimes diamonds in the rough like these are my favorites. I just can't explain why I like them, I just do. Maybe it's the charming story and the simplistic graphics, or maybe it's the open-ended world map, or it could possibly be that each dungeon comes complete with its own set of puzzle mechanics. I know that this game gets a bad rep, but I truly think that that's because of the challenge. It's easily one of the hardest RPGs that I've ever played, but that's also part of its charm. You feel a real sense of accomplishment when you complete a dungeon or you get a new character. Many people probably won't agree with this pick, but I love the throwbacks to the NES days and the simpler times. Number 18, Breath of Fire 3. Unpopular opinion time. Of the 4 real Breath of Fire games, this one is my least favorite. That being said though, it speaks to the quality of the series that this is still a good game. I love the bright, cheery graphics, the atmospheric music, the Dragon Gene system, learning abilities from enemies, and the Master System. They're all really good ideas which Capcom incorporated into the series seamlessly. However, it still does have some downsides, most notably in the pacing. I just feel like there's so much added filler. From the forced minigames to the entire arena storyline to training Bade. Ugh. It took what should have been a 40-hour game and turned it into a 60-hour game, and ain't nobody got time for that. Number 17, the Lad Trilogy. Man, I loved working designs back in the 90s. They're back as Gaijin works, but it's just not the same as it used to be. Getting a boxed set of 3 games plus a bonus arena game and a hardcover manual and all the other little trinkets was just the best. Anyway, the Lad games is a strategy RPG in the same vein as Final Fantasy Tactics, except instead of employing a job class system, all of your party members already have predefined roles. The first game is rather short, lasting roughly 10 hours, but the second and third are much longer, easily lasting 40 to 60 hours because of the inclusion of the guild system, which allows for endless exploration and side quests. What's nice about the series is that all the games take place in the same world and in roughly the same time period, so characters from the first game will not only make cameo appearances throughout, but also join up with your heroes. This truly made me feel immersed into the world and actually care about its inhabitants. Number 16, Saiyuki Journey West. This is a definite hidden gem, and one that I've already touched upon in my Strangest RPG series. As a strategy RPG based upon the Chinese novel Journey to the West, the game is chock full of historical references as well as fantastical mythology. The story follows Sanso, a Buddhist monk who travels from China to India, meeting friends, foes, and gods along the way. The religious themes of the plot are pretty heavy-handed, with Hindu gods serving as the antagonists and rescuing Buddha as the end goal. But, as they say, it's the journey, not the destination that matters, and this one is a doozy. If you're looking for an obscure, highly challenging strategy RPG with a riveting story and delightful characters, look no further than this. Number 15, Tales of Phantasia. I mentioned this back whenever I made my top 10 Tales games video, but my first exposure to Tales of Phantasia was actually this game. It's an excellent PlayStation remake, featuring fully voice-acted skits, additional content, and a full rebalancing of the battle system. To this day, it holds up as one of the best in the series. There really is no excuse to play the archaic SNES version or the completely bastardized Game Boy Advance version when this gem exists. While I was first introduced to the series through Tales of Destiny, I know that many of you got your first taste with Tales of Symphonia, and if that's the case and you still love that game, you owe it to yourself to see where the series started. Interestingly also, Tales of Symphonia is actually a prequel to Phantasia, with both of them taking place in the same world, only in Phantasia, they're actually both joined together. Number 14, Guardians Crusade. I know that everyone's going to scream that this is a kiddie game, but I don't care. I was actually hyped for it after I was reading multiple magazine articles and reviews when it first came out. I guess I don't really understand people who write games off as juvenile if it has a certain graphical style. I mean, it's a good game no matter what it looks like. And if you're looking for one of those games that has a similar vibe to Earthbound, here it is. One of my favorite things is how transitions are completely seamless. Even when you go from a town to the world map, it's all in the same scale, and it's open world very much like Earthbound. This is true even later in the game when you're flying around. Yeah, combat can be basic since you really only have control of the knight and the baby, but there's added mechanics like the pet system and living toys. Give this one a shot if you haven't already. Number 13, Thousand Arms. When I first started playing this game, I didn't think that I would like it. I mean, it revolves around a womanizer, or a spirit blacksmith who has to string along or date all the prettiest women around in order to learn new spells and power up your weapons. It really didn't sound like my cup of tea, and I was never much of a fan of simulation games. But once I really did start playing, I realized that there is so much more to this game. Everyone's just off the wall wacky. The cartoony character designs are well done, the voice acting is hysterical, and all the unique locations that you visit just gives it an otherworldly charm. There's nothing generic here. And while the battle system can be slow and take some getting used to, the one-on-one battles are simplistic and charming in their own right, especially because every single monster is just so lovingly designed. Number 12, Wild Arms. Honestly, I wanted to put both Wild Arms games on the original list, but I didn't want to clog it up with two games from the same series. It was an extremely hard decision for me to make as to which one to include the first time around, but I did go with Wild Arms 2 just because it had more content. However, I still do love the first outing. As the first RPG that I played with an old Western setting, it was already unique, but the ethereal music is timeless, and it really does make you feel like you're traversing a wasteland. The story and characters are memorable, and the dungeon design and accompanying tool system makes for some of the best puzzle solving in the entire genre. It really is up there with Lufia 2. I remember that the first time that I played this game, I was really intrigued by everybody's different abilities, the quick draws that you could discover or potentially miss, the arms powers of Rudy, and the cool crest magic system where you can combine two elements to create a new spell. All of it was new to me. And finally, number 11, Lunar 2, Eternal Blue. As many of you know, Lunar Silver Star Story Complete was number 1 in my first top 10 list, and just like with Wild Arms, I wanted to give this game a place somewhere on the list too, but again, I didn't want to clog it up with two games from one franchise. So in the end, I went with the first one that I just liked a tad bit better. Here, the bones of the game are all still the same. It's everything that you know and love from the first, with the whimsical world, memorable characters, humorous working designs translation, tactical grid-based battle system, classic graphics, animated cutscenes, and songs. But there's now customization added with the crest system, which really does add a new twist to an already almost perfect formula. If you're a fan of RPGs of days past, especially on the SNES, then you would be remiss to pass up on this fantastic gem. What I wouldn't give to see a true third Lunar game. Well, that's it for the top 20 PlayStation 1 games, and remember, if you missed the first list that I put up years ago, it's in the video description. Hope that you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.